Sorry, failure first up. Okay, so welcome everyone to the February 2025 City Development Delegated Committee, and I declare the meeting open at 6:32 p.m. And I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri, Wurrung, Boonwurrung and Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And just like to remind everyone to switch their mobile phones off or turn them to silent before we start. Thanks. So I advise the gallery that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on Council's website. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, your presence may be recorded. In accordance with Council's governance rules, meetings may not be photographed, filmed or recorded without the consent of the Chief Executive Officer. I advise that there are no apologies for tonight's meeting, and as per Rule 72.3 of Council's governance rules, I wish to advise that Councillor Cook-Lamb is attending this meeting virtually. Councillor Lamb, can you please confirm that you can see and hear the meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can see and hear you clearly.
Great, thanks, and I can confirm that we can see and hear you clearly as well. In accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, do any councillors have a conflict of interest in relation to any of the agenda items? No? Okay, thanks, councillors. So we now move to public question time. Public question time is managed in accordance with Council's governance rules. Members of the public can submit a maximum of 3 questions prior to the commencement of the meeting. As Chair, I'll decide who answers the questions, and public question time is limited to 15 minutes unless councillors consent to an extension. So our first question is from Glenn Yates, and Glenn asks, a minority of residents have been made aware of the planning application for yet another data centre in the Inner West. Perry Projects Proprietary Limited, or PMDC, have made an application directly on the state government circumventing Maribyrnong City Council's involvement, including community consultation. PMDC will be within 250 metres of the next DC data centre and within 250 metres of the Maribyrnong City Council Tottenham Operations Centre. There's also an active empty container park, ECP, next door owned by Paddock to Port. If approved, will this be the 4th data centre within 2.5 kilometres of 2 other data centres? Has Council received an in-depth below-the-line briefing on this application? So, I don't know, well, I can read it, I guess. Council has received a briefing on the application for a data centre at 63 Sunshine Road, West Footscray, with a full report contained in this evening's agenda. And the application for shipping container storage at 36 to 38 Robert Street is still under consideration by council officers, with the public notice of that application scheduled to commence next week. So question 2, it's proposed that PMDC will store 510,000 litres of diesel in multiple tanks in the basement of the proposed structure. To date, Fire Rescue Victoria have not yet issued a certificate of compliance, as the PMDC will make an application for that later on during the construction. Hypothesising that next DC carries the same requirement of diesel storage, that means over 1 million litres of diesel will be stored in close proximity to residential housing, Kingsville Kindergarten and the Maribyrnong City Council Tottenham Operations Centre. Is this an acceptable risk that Council is comfortable with? So I'm going to pass this one to, I think, the Director of Planning. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas, and through you. So our response is dangerous goods such as diesel and other fuels are regulated by WorkSafe Victoria, Fire Rescue Victoria and the Environment Protection Authority. These are not matters which Council can consider when assessing a planning permit application under the Planning and Environment Act 1987.
Thank you. So the third question from Glenn is, based on the above line information provided from a constituent, will Council consider challenging the Minister of Planning on the behalf of West Footscray residents and request a formal briefing and advocate for community consultation? So I might just respond to this one. So Council's being asked to provide comment on the application pursuant to clause 53.22 of the Maribyrnong Planning Scheme. And the Minister for Planning is the responsible authority for the application, with no third-party appeal rights available. Any member of the public can make a submission to the Minister in support or in opposition of the application, and local residents may wish to raise their concerns with their local Member of Parliament. And also noting that I might just ask the Director of Planning that the timeframe for making submissions has closed for the data centre. Is that right? That's correct? Is that right?
Through you, Chair, yes, the submission period has closed. However, a decision has not yet been made on the application, so they will continue to accept submissions until a decision has been made.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, the next set of questions is from Christopher Jureb. So first, the only question is, will Council consider developing a master plan aimed at revitalising the Footscray CBD? If not, then why? I think this is the Director of Planning as well.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas, and through you. There are a number of programs and initiatives being delivered in and around the Footscray CBD aimed at improving and revitalising the public realm and streetscape, supporting local businesses, encouraging development of vacant land, providing support for social services and making the area as safe and as accessible as possible for all in our community. Much like the complexity of the issues, there's not just one master plan that will lead to the area's revitalisation. Rather, a multi-pronged approach from many stakeholders in our community is required to revitalise the area, and to this end, Council remains committed to working in partnership with the broader community and key stakeholders to do its bit to tackle what is largely a complex social issue which is not just unique to the Footscray CBD.
Thanks for that. I just wonder if any councillors wanted to respond to that question at all, given the focus on Footscray CBD. No, that's it. Oh, yep. Yeah. The Mayor, off you go.
I'd just like to reiterate what Director Mike said. As all councillors know, we've been quite actively involved in engaging with many residents and traders, trade associations, different groups for the revitalisation of Footscray. And I think we're soon going to be coming up with a plan for the entire Footscray Mall and the CBD area. We have already started working with state government as well. We've had Minister for Local Government, Nick Starkos, come down, as mentioned in my last meeting, that he's come down and had a site tour, site walk with us as well, and offered a lot of insights and other alternatives which we're going to consider and present to residents and traders in the mall. So that was coming up shortly. We're certainly working with as many groups as we can for the revitalisation.
Thanks, Councillor Tawari, our Mayor. Okay, and our last set of questions are from Ken Betts. And the first question is, there are currently numerous overseas flags displayed in Footscray Nicholson Street Mall and Irving Street Footscray which are missing the Australian flag. Australian flag protocol is not being complied with, which clearly states that where overseas flags are publicly displayed, they must be prominently displayed alongside the Australian flag. Can you advise? And I think, am I referring to the Director of Planning and Environment? Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas, and through you. Just to clarify, technically there are no flags flying in Nicholson and Irving Streets. These are what we would class as promotional banners which incorporate an image of some nations' flags alongside Council's logo. These banners were first installed in 2015 in recognition of the area's identity as Little Africa. The current banners are scheduled to be replaced on Friday the 28th of February 2025 with new banners to advertise the Little Africa Night Market in March 2025, which has been supported by a Westgate Tunnel Project Neighbourhood Grant and the Maribyrnong City Council. The banner poles are also used each year to display festive season banners as part of our annual Christmas program.
Thank you. Second question from Ken Betts is, when will the Footscray senior citizens have their own centrally located facilities reinstated at Town Hall? And I'll ask the Director of Community Services to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and through you.
I just want to acknowledge that I think an answer to this has been provided previously, but it has been some time. Since the acquisition of the land that Footscray Senior Citizens Centre was located on around 15 years ago by the state for the completion of the regional rail link project, Council has continued to offer support for seniors activation through a range of facilities. This includes the 3 remaining senior citizen centres in Maribyrnong, including the Anglis Centre located in Vicepoint Street, Footscray, where groups can meet and participate. There is some capacity in those centres for additional groups to meet should they wish to, and some activation has also continued to be provided through Rec West. Also, pleasingly, the Town Hall is now available for community use, and we're really excited to be able to offer these magnificent facilities for the benefit of the community, including our older residents. The bookings for the Town Hall, of course, can be made by contacting our customer service team.
Thanks very much. And the final question, was a permit granted to Littlefoot to permanently park containers on council property taking up car spaces adjacent to the library post-COVID, and was it approved by council? What is the rent for the space currently being used? I assume that's the Director of Planning and Environment. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas. And through you, the simple answer is yes. Littlefoot has been located in the Footscray Library car park since 2022 and pays in the order of $3,030 per annum in fees to council. Littlefoot is able to trade in this area under our parklet policy. Parklets offer a number of community benefits, including expanding the options for relaxing nightlife within Footscray, as well as increasing the feeling of community safety by occupying space in the evening that would normally be vacant. Average occupancy in this car park is in the order of around about 53% from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And this initiative is not considered to negatively impact the parking in the precinct. Thank you very much. And so that's the last question. So public question time is now closed. So agenda item 5.1, confirmation of the minutes from the 11th of December 2024. I call for a councillor to move the minutes of the City Development Delegated Committee meeting held on 11 December 2024 be confirmed. Well, I looked at the Mayor first, so Councillor Tawari, apologies. And I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yangi, thank you. I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion's carried. Agenda item 6.1, 63 Sunshine Road, West Footscray. Consideration of referral of planning permit application from the Minister for Planning. So just ask the CEO if we have any requests to address the committee in relation to this item.
No, we don't have any requests.
Okay, thank you. So I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Pereira.
Is that,
Yep, that's on.
good. That the City Development Delegated Committee, with respect to planning permit application PA 2403320, notifies the Department of Transport and Planning that it does not support the granting of a planning permit for use and development of the land for the utility installation data centre and the partial demolition and alteration of the building within section 161 of the Heritage Overlay at 63 Sunshine Road, West Footscray, based on the following grounds. 1, the use of the land as a data centre would not result in sufficient employment generation and density for a core employment area and does not comply with the strategies of clause 17.01-1R, diversified economy, metropolitan Melbourne, clause 17.01-1L, employment, and clause 17.03-1S, industrial land supply of the Maribyrnong planning scheme, the scheme. Number 2, the proposal fails to satisfy the objectives and strategies at clause 13.07-1S, land use compatibility of the scheme, as it would result in unacceptable adverse off-site impacts to nearby residential areas. And 3, the proposed development is not sufficiently set back from Indwee Street nor MacArthur Streets presents a bulky appearance to the surrounding area and does not incorporate sufficient landscaping in order to comply with clause 15.01-1L-02, design in core employment areas of the scheme.
Thanks, Councillor. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Councillor Tuari, is that a new?
I was in line, so after you've finished.
Okay, all right, okay. Councillor Meredith, you second the motion? Okay, so are there any questions or points of clarification, councillors? Councillor Tuari? Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to foreshadow that if the proposed alternate motion falls through, we refer back to the original recommendation of the officers.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other points of clarification, councillors? Okay, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
I'm opposing the data centre because of lack of and poorly timed consultation, and it doesn't respond to the West Footscray Tottenham economic framework. It doesn't deliver sufficient employment for the area, especially considering proximity to the train line and residential area. It doesn't contribute positively to civic amenity in the area, and it locks up the land for another 50 plus years. While on the face of it, it feels less hostile than other industrial activity in the area, what we want to see is new activity in this space and new initiatives and innovation that will contribute positively for future decades.
Thanks, councillor. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Okay, thanks, councillor Meredith.
Everything that Councillor Pereira said, and I think that our community can have better than that, than a data centre. I'd like to see something that is usable, something that employs people, and just because we have always been the industrial past doesn't mean we always have to keep being that same. There is a better way that we can live in Maribyrnong. And I think that a lot of people are wanting that. We're wanting sustainability, we're wanting employment, we're wanting nature, all of those beautiful, rich, vibrant things that we're wanting. And it's right splat bang in the middle of residential area. There was no consultation, or little, I should say. Most people were on holidays or not really looking out for things like that. So. And I know that a lot of people in the area would not and do not want that. And I know that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, councillor. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillors like to speak against the motion? Okay, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, and all those against? So the motion's lost. So we'll now go back to calling for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Tuari?
Yeah. In considering the application, I've considered that the proposal will result in a capital investment of over $80 million into the Maribyrnong economy during the construction stage. Once completed, the data centre will result in local employment opportunities. The site has been vacant for over 20 years and currently results in zero employment. A data centre here signifies that West Footscray and Maribyrnong in general is a place to be for high-tech jobs as we transition away from more traditional manufacturing. A data centre here results in the efficient use of the existing power infrastructure. A data centre here which is opposite houses on Indui Street is a good outcome which will result in fewer vehicle movements when compared to a more traditional industrial development, a good amenity outcome for local residents. There have been no formally recorded complaints from our residents in relation to the nearby next DC data centre. I acknowledge that there are concerns in the community regarding the storage of diesel, but as a director of planning said, this is not a planning matter which council can address, and I'm confident that these concerns will be adequately addressed by the relevant authorities.
Councillor Tuari, can I just hold you there? You need to move the motion first. Apologies, I should have pulled you up earlier. Yep. So if you can move the motion first,
sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So I move that council adopts the original recommendations by officers to item agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Yengi. So now you can go back to where you were up to with your moving the motion, speaking to the motion, yeah.
You want me to start again?
Maybe just start from where you were
Probably
up
for
to,
the
I think, yeah.
clarity of it. So, as mentioned, the proposal will result in capital investment of over $80 million into the Maribyrnong economy during the construction stage. And once completed, the data centre will result in local employment opportunities. The site has been vacant for more than 20 years and currently results in no employment. The data centre here signifies that West Footscray and Maribyrnong in general is the place to be for high-tech jobs as we transition away from the more traditional manufacturing. The data centre here results in smart and efficient use of existing power infrastructure. A data centre here, which is opposite houses on Endway Street, is a good outcome which will result in fewer vehicle movements when compared to a more traditional industrial development, a good amenity outcome for local residents. There have been no formally recorded complaints from our residents in relation to the nearby next DC data centre. And I acknowledge that there are concerns in the community regarding the storage of diesel, but this is not a planning matter which Council can address, and I'm confident that the concerns will be adequately addressed by the relevant authorities. Further, the generators will be used only on the rare occasion when there is an interruption to the electricity supply from the grid. This is similar to how a hospital or an aged care centre would typically operate.
Thanks. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yes, so I just wanted to briefly say that whilst I recognise that the planning permit in question is currently sitting with the Minister for Planning and that the Minister is seeking comments from Council, and I recognise that the department has its own processes that it follows, and these processes have supposedly been followed. I just wanted to convey, I guess, some disappointment around the consultation, and like my colleague, Councillor Meredith mentioned earlier, in terms of better ways to do things, I think that there is an opportunity in the future for us, well, for the Minister, not us, for the department, when carrying out and reviewing future planning permits, to be able to undertake better consultation with our community. And I would like our officers to convey this disappointment to the Minister, suggest that in future we would greatly value better consultation with our community.
Thanks, Councillor. So would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Lamb?
Thank you, Councillor Chair. I'm not briefing, but I would like to see this the minor change in the ward. It's a River Ward. The 63 Sunshine Road is maybe there's some error there. It not belong to River Ward. Before we move in motion. Thanks.
I think what Councillor is referring to is at the very start of the report, it mentions River Ward when it's Bluestone Ward, is that right? Yeah, thanks. So I'll just let the officers...
With your indulgence,
yep.
Chair, we can certainly correct that in the paper.
Great, thank you. So would any councillors like to speak, hold on, where are we up to? For the motion, I think I'm up to. Yep. Councillor Simra.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. To reiterate Councillor Yengi's point, while there were gaps in consultation, I think when we consider all variables, this is a benefit to the community. I'm supporting this data centre because it represents a significant private investment, as the Mayor commented on, to our local economy, bringing jobs, and without direct financial burden on ratepayers, and also when we consider the added benefit of the rates to be taken from this project. It is a benefit. This facility will create employment opportunities both during construction and ongoing operations, benefiting businesses and local workers. It will also enhance digital connectivity, supporting our growing need for secure data storage, and additionally, the project aligns with our broader economic development goals by attracting further investment and positioning our municipality as a hub for innovation. And it will create, this centre will future-proof our region while ensuring that our community benefits from the latest advancements in digital infrastructure.
Thanks, Councillor. Would any other councillors like to speak against the motion? No? Against? Yep. Councillor Meredith?
Yeah, I'm just going to say the same thing, that I think that we can have industry and investment that is more sustainable and more serving for our community than a data centre. A data centre is just and I think that we deserve more, we deserve better, and I want to make that stand for that.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillors like to speak against the motion? Can I just check with through the CEO with the director? As the chair, am I able to speak against the motion? Yes. Yeah, thank you. I've just forgotten. So I'd just like to say a couple of things. I echo all of the councillors who have said, who have mentioned their concern about the poor process of community consultation, and I think this is we're going to see this more and more. This is one of those applications that have been called in by the state government, locking out the community effectively from having any sort of right to object or provide any input into these processes. So whilst I know Councillor Yengi is saying it might be an opportunity for future applications, we've already had a few of these applications come through council in the last council term, and exactly the same thing happened. Community was not happy with it. There was a very short period of time for them to provide any input into the decision, and then the decision was made by the state and basically disregarding what the community said. So for me, that's a really huge concern, particularly in planning, which has enormous impacts on individuals, but also communities, and particularly this pocket of Maribyrnong that is adjacent to an industrial zone. We do need to see, I think, applications that are better situated as adjacent neighbours and that are going to actually bring a bit of sort of life into those communities and some amenity into those communities, which I don't, this application, reading it, it's going to be a humming big black box, and we already have one of those. So I don't agree with Councillor Semmer that it'll be a hub for innovation. I think it'll just be a small number of people coming to work every day, and the gate will be locked after that. So thank you, councillors. So I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? So the motion is carried. So we now move to councillor question time, which is managed in accordance with council's governance rules. It's limited to 15 minutes unless councillors consent to an extension. Councillors, are there any councillors who wish to ask a question? No, councillor question time is now closed then. So we'll move on to urgent business. Councillors, are there any items of urgent business? No? Okay. And so I'm going to declare the meeting closed at 7 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.